So will my drive, will my passion, will my interests, my pursuits ever return? And in the last video, I noted that yes, they do return, but they return on a different level or a different way, very different. And I want to talk about a couple little pockets we can get into and get stuck when this place arrives within you where you have no drive, no interest, no desire, no motivation to really get up and do as you did before. So because you are on the heart rising, assuming you are listening to this, you have a heart opening, heart rising, I don't know. But this page is dedicated to the heart rising. I liken that to the priest and the priestess path. That's just how I interpret this. This heart rising is the heart wound. It is the Kundalini is going through the heart. It's going to break open this wound and dissect it and purify it out. And you will not be moving through into higher experience of your arise without doing that. It's a requirement. So all aspects of the wound have to be looked at. When you're walking around with a big heartbreak wound, you tend to be in a trauma response. You tend to, unless you're along the way, this journey a few years into it and you're consciously working with it, you will notice you have a trauma response to things, to life. And what can happen when you find yourself in this place of no drive, no ambition, no motivation, no interest, is you might have a trauma response to that. In other words, a reaction, and then it's like a recoiling. So the actual reaction is a recoiling, and it's just a going away, hiding. It's very common to have that kind of reaction when your world falls apart. All your life pursuits are gone. You're kind of being dismantled, right? But when we recoil, if we recoil, we tend to produce and create more lack of drive, lack of ambition, lack of interest. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to create more of this place that we're in. We want to acknowledge that we're here, receive the blessing of it, because it is a blessing, because the Kundalini takes these distractions out, because that's what they were. These pursuits and these ambitions, these drives were just distractions and were avenues where you're draining your energy or your prana. And you need the prana to move the Kundalini. So that's the blessing. Then when we find ourselves there, begin to, what I had to do is begin to look deeper into this wound more. And one of the things that I did was I began to really look again at the gut. And believe me, I've looked at the gut for years, but I looked again at it in a specific way, and then I realized once this was sort of rebalanced with the flora in a more specific way, the nervous system and the brain and the heart began to reconnect, and strengthen in the connection. And then with that, I began to feel things that I didn't know were there. So we are really cut off from this heart, from the most part, and we're walking around kind of numb. Now we find ourselves in this place of, really sort of just not feeling anything, and we need to reconnect. So maybe look at the diet, but this brings me to a more specific part of it, which can relate to the diet, and that is your big distractions were taken away. Now it's time to look at the smaller distractions that are keeping you from looking here. And that is distraction, it could be anything, but you will have to find that on your own. And this takes a little honesty, a little introspection, a lot of introspection, and the ability to really change, allow for some change to occur in these smaller areas, seemingly small areas, but they are huge. They have huge ripple effects into the rest of your process. So we spend a lot of time, we spend a lot of prana wasted on moving away from this wound. We don't want to feel it. We've numbed ourselves out One of the biggest distractions that I found for myself, seemingly one that Kundalini can't really take away, is the mind. And if you look at the mind, if it's not under control or if it's not focused, it's a ride. It's a crazy ride. So one of the practices we do is begin to focus that mind. So the other aspect of this is prana depletion. When you have a wound, you are depleted of prana. So the whole, with the heart rising, you have a situation where most of us are depleted in the prana. We're tired. We don't have a lot of drive any left. We don't have a lot of energy, prana, to put towards a lot of the pursuits, which is a good thing in a way, because we need to start now generating prana and then beginning to learn how to use the prana without depleting the fuel tank, if you will. So it's very important for a heart person to learn about the prana and how they're spending their prana, because when you're depleted in your prana, you're going to stay in this thing of I don't have any drive, I don't have any interest, and it's going to create more of it. So that was mainly the point of this whole video, is to, when you find yourself there at this place, rejoice, because it is part of the process, but don't create more of it. What's helpful for the priest in the priestess path is to focus the mind. Why do we focus the mind? For the prana, so that the prana does not continue to drain out. So when we just have the one focus of mind, and we can do this beautifully through mantra, through devotion, through meditation, you learn to focus and get that mind less scattered. Then the other thing that we do is we begin to focus the heart. And this is very easy for many of us on this path to do. We focus the heart on the love that we have for the beloved. So you have the mind becoming focused on the beloved. You have the heart becoming so in love, even on your hard days. That's why we call it practice. The mind is less scattered. The heart is not all over the place. It's not trying to find something to fill it. It's giving love upward, because that's what it's designed to do. It gives it upward, and it's in this place of love. These two connect, and then something beautiful happens. The body comes into alignment, and then you begin to do from that place. You begin to receive inspiration and motivation and desire from that place. But something actually happens. What's really happening is, as your mind becomes stilled, your heart becomes devotional, you begin to get catapulted into the temple, what I call the temple. It's the threshold of the doorway of the rest of your process. And you're standing there, and you can then receive, but you can also give, because we are really designed to give that deep inner love to the beloved. And when we do that, we receive also. And you can begin to do from that basis. There's no real motivation behind it that is like survival, or I have to do this because, all of that isn't really there. It's more of a service to the one, and everything really becomes about the one. It's all there is. So I wanted to just bring that piece in as it's not really a goal, but it is a goal. And it is there to look to. That path is there for you. And if you're feeling like, what's the point? I have no drive and I don't even understand this. Maybe there's more trauma to look at. There's more opening of the heart. There's less distraction that needs to happen so that you can begin to feel and see these things. Nervous system needs to come down. Mind needs to focus. Heart needs to be in devotion. And we need to move inside the temple so that we can be who we have come to be and assume your rightful place inside the temple, which is your birthright, and it is your place of home. So, hope you found this helpful, and I will be back again with another video soon.